Ever wonder where the people of South Asia really come from? For the longest time, the answer seemed like a simple story of invasion. But what if that history wasn't just written in ancient texts, but was actually hidden in our very DNA? Well, today we're going to follow that genetic thread, and it's going to unravel a much, much deeper story of ancient migrations, epic mixtures, and how the people of an entire subcontinent were truly formed. So, here's the big question that's been debated for ages. Did a group of outsiders, these so-called Aryans, invade India thousands of years ago, completely replacing the civilization that was already there? Or is that whole idea just a myth? For a long time, this was the heart of a really fierce debate. But today, we're going to look at the evidence that's giving us a brand new answer. And trust me, this is not just some dusty academic argument. It's a passionate, live conversation that people are having right now, just like this comment shows. People are so deeply invested in this story of origins, and every new scientific finding just adds more fuel to the fire. You know, it really speaks to a fundamental question of identity. Who are we, and where do we come from? So first, let's just do a quick recap of the old theory. It was called the Aryan invasion theory, and it basically suggested that around 1500 BCE, nomadic warriors from Central Asia just swept into India. The story went that they conquered the sophisticated city-dwelling people of the Indus Valley Civilization and imposed their own culture and language on top of them. This idea has been floating around for more than 100 years, and to say it's been controversial, well, that's a huge understatement. It's been all tangled up with politics and culture and identity, making it one of the most heated debates in South Asian history. But, speculation can only get you so far. To get real answers, we needed a whole new kind of tool. And that tool is genetics, specifically the analysis of ancient DNA. We can now literally pull the entire genetic code from the remains of people who lived and died thousands of years ago. It gives us this direct window into the past that is absolutely changing the game. To trace our ancestors, geneticists have these two really powerful tools. Think of them like two different history books. The Y chromosome is passed down from father to son, tracing that direct paternal line back through the millennia. At the same time, you have mitochondrial DNA, which is only passed down from the mother. That tells the story of our maternal line. By reading both, we can track how different groups of men and women were moving all across the ancient world. This is the key right here, ancient DNA, or aDNA. This means we're not just looking at people today and trying to guess what happened in the past. We can now read the genomes of the actual people who lived during these key moments in history, the people of the Indus Valley, the herders on the steppe. It's like being a detective with a time machine. So, what has this genetic time machine actually revealed? Well, it shows that the foundation of the South Asian population is made up of a few key ancestral streams. Let's meet the very first inhabitants. First up, you have the ancient Ancestral South Indians, or AASI for short. This is the indigenous hunter-gatherer population. They're related to the very first modern humans who arrived on the subcontinent tens of thousands of years ago. Their DNA, it represents the deepest, most ancient layer of South Asia's entire genetic story. But the story of India has always been a story of mixture, and the first major chapter in that story began long, long before the timeline of the old invasion theory. A new group of people started arriving from the northwest, and they brought a completely different genetic signature with them. And this is the crucial point. This second group was related to the ancient hunter-gatherers and early farmers from the Iranian plateau. Now look at that date. They started mixing with the indigenous AASI people more than 7,000 years ago. I mean, that's millennia before the old invasion theory was even supposed to have happened. Okay, check out this map from the landmark study in the journal Science. It gives us a fantastic visual. You can see the territory of the indigenous South Asian hunter-gatherers, the AASI, spread across the subcontinent. Now look to the west, over on the Iranian plateau. This is where that second ancestral stream came from, and you can see their path as they moved east. These two worlds were about to collide and combine. So here it is, the first huge revelation from the genetic data. The people who built the great cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, the legendary Indus Valley Civilization, they weren't one single isolated group. No, they were themselves a product of this ancient admixture, a fusion of the indigenous ASI and these incoming Iranian-related people.
Now, this chart might look a little complicated at first, but what it shows is incredible. Scientists call it the Indus periphery line. So just imagine a genetic line, right, with pure Iranian-related ancestry at one end and pure indigenous AASI ancestry at the other. Each of those dots is an ancient person's genome. See how they don't just bunch up at the ends? They fall all along the line. This is basically a genetic snapshot, proving that the Indus Valley people were a deeply mixed and diverse population right from the start.
Okay, so we've got 2 of our 3 key ingredients, but there's one more major migration that completes the picture. And this is the one that the old Aryan invasions theory was trying, and as it turns out failing, to explain.
So, about 4,000 years ago, a new group of people did start moving south from those vast grasslands of Central Asia, known as the steppe. Now, this is the right time and the right place for the Aryans of the old theory, but what does their DNA actually tell us?
The genetics are crystal clear. These were pastoralists, or herders, and they had a very distinct genetic signature. Their arrival is strongly linked with the spread of early Indo-European languages. That's the ancestor of Sanskrit, Hindi, even English. But, and you gotta get this is the most critical point, they didn't invade and replace everybody. No way. They migrated, and they mixed with the existing, sophisticated population of the Indus periphery. It was fusion, not conquest. So now we have all 3 ancestral streams on the table: the indigenous ASI, the ancient Iranian-related folks, and the Steppe Pastoralists. And by putting them all together, we can finally write a new, much more accurate origin story for modern India. So after the decline of the Indus Valley Civilization, these ancestral streams combined to form 2 major population groups. In the north, the Ancestral South Indians, or ANI, they came from the mix of Indus periphery people and the newly arrived Steppe Pastoralists. Meanwhile, in the south, the Ancestral South Indians, or ASI, were formed as Indus periphery people moved and mixed with more AASI groups. The key thing to remember is that neither of these groups were pure. They were both, from the very beginning, mixtures themselves. And this right here, this is the payoff. This triangular chart is the genetic portrait of modern South Asia. Just look at the 3 corners. They represent the 3 ancient ancestral sources: the indigenous AASI, the Indus periphery people, and the Steppe Pastoralists. Now look at all those blue dots. Each one is a modern South Asian population group. See how they aren't all clustered in the corners? They're spread out all over the middle, showing that pretty much everyone in the subcontinent today is just a different combination of these 3 ancient streams. It's a beautiful picture of a shared, mixed history. So the conclusion is just undeniable. That old story of a conquering invasion that wiped out a previous civilization, it's just wrong. The true story is so much more complex, and frankly, way more interesting. It's a story of continuous mixing and layering, and the fusing of different peoples over thousands and thousands of years to create this incredible tapestry of populations we see today. So let's just run through that timeline one last time to really see how this incredible journey unfolded. It all starts over 7,000 years ago, with that first mixture that forms the Indus Valley people. Then their civilization flourishes. Around 4,000 years ago, the Steppe Pastoralists arrive and mix in. And from that point on, it's a story of these new groups mixing with each other, creating that continuous genetic spectrum we see across all of South Asia today. But the story, of course, is never really over, is it? Science is constantly evolving. Every single new ancient genome that gets sequenced adds another page, another tiny detail to our shared human history. It just leaves you wondering, what revolutionary discovery is waiting out there, buried in the dust, just waiting to be decoded next?